Oh.
That's scary. The lady with the brain injury is going to hold your hand through this.
Thank goodness it's a virtual journey. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, and anything in between or outside of that, welcome to Comic Spot. I rarely call it Comic Spot, but it's a spot for comics, and it's on YouTube. Comedian Linda Marcus Smith. You know, like I'm begging you. I've done almost 1,000 of these, and I don't even have 400 subscribers. Is it the word subscribe that's bothering you? I'll get it changed. You know, join. Join. Like, it's not like joining the army. It's not like, come on, people, help me out. Help a girl. I might die with less than 400. So you don't want that. Anyway, today I have a wonderful guest. I'll get to him in a second. But first of all, I want to tell you, thank you for your support all these years, 2 of them. Thanks for thinking that there's something special about me interviewing people. I appreciate that so much. You have no idea. On a bad day, I sit and go, I bet you Betty and Isla thinks I'm good. Even if I don't think I'm good, I know there's somebody out there that thinks I'm fabulous, and you guys make my whole day. I have a sponsor. I still have a sponsor. Can you believe it? Now, I was in the Army, and I am a veteran now, and that means I didn't go AWOL, and I came out with a good discharge. But what it means is that the Veterans of Comedy let me in their comedy group, you know, and they're my sponsor. So, you know, like they make sure I'm not still drinking. Oh, no, not that kind of Coke. No. Oh, comedy. I get these all mixed up. Will Clifton and Eric Knowles started it so that there would be no laugh left behind. And they go out around the world making anybody laugh under the name of the Veterans of Comedy. So next time you're wondering, you know, you're sitting there at home in a vacuum, and you know, your thoughts, and you go, I wonder if somebody that used to sling a weapon could sling jokes. Then what you do is go to theveteransofcomedy.com, hit enter. I know, walk you through this, and you look for my face, and you ignore all those men, you know, and you go to me and you hire me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Will has a sense of humor. He knows I'm joking. Hire the person that you identify with the most, and that's me, because you're on here with me. No, I'm just kidding. Choose somebody. Just go to the Veterans of Comedy because they're awesome. No laugh left behind. Today's guest is over there squirming. When is she gonna shut up?
I'm enjoying the one person show right now. So
yeah, this is my one woman show. It's off Broadway, way off Broadway. Today's guest is amazing. I met him on Zoom. He is amazing. I've heard people tell me things like Lane Witz told me how wonderful your reputation not only precedes you, it comes after you.
Well, I have a reputation.
You have a reputation.
Wow. Okay.
In high school, it meant something else, but now.
Yeah, as long as it's not on social media, it's all good.
Yeah. His name is Brent Maxwell in real life, but his moniker on stage is Dee Cee Maxwell. So don't get it twisted like I do. Don't act like a 71-year-old boomer who's not okay. There's another.
And I'll explain later why I changed that name. So anyway, go on. So yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay, I'm going to read you the intro that Dee Cee Maxwell sent me. Your next guest.
This is weird, actually.
I know.
Knowing full well that everybody knows that I wrote it for you, and you're telling back to me. I have to pretend that it's your words. So we have to play this like this mime game. Like, wow, what is she going to say about me?
This should be in the Matrix.
Oh, it's flattering. Yeah. Go ahead.
Your next guest is Canadian. I didn't know that. I'm sorry. We'll have to leave now. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye. Deuces.
That's where all my friends went when I went in the Army. Your next guest is a Canadian, a comedian, and a chiropractor. That's 3 C's. He returned to comedy after a 20-year, I lost my place, after a 20-year hiatus while living in Singapore just before the pandemic. He's open for Neil Brennan and it keeps moving my place, and most recently performed in Kenan Thompson's Ultimate Comedy Experience. He currently lives and performs throughout Chicago. Any questions yet at home? Let's bring him to the stage right now. Dee Cee Maxwell. Woo!
For those who are deaf, hey. However, I must apologize. A, that bio, that intro is way too long. And B, I'm Canadian. So just get out of the way. I'm sorry. And that's what we do. We apologize all the time.
Didn't I say you were Canadian?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. No, that's true. That is true. I am Canadian.
But
right?
you're apologizing for it.
Yes, I'm apologizing for it. Doesn't mean anything, but we have to say it. We are obligated to say it because that's what it's expected of us. So
Got it. What's the best thing that ever came out of Canada?
maple syrup. You kidding me? And hockey. Maple syrup and hockey and Ryan Reynolds and me. And basketball. And basketball was invented by a Canadian.
No way.
Yes, basketball was invented by James A. Naismith. So millions and millions of dollars were spent on basketball, and millions and millions of people are watching basketball because of a Canadian. Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Wow, we have a lot to thank the Canadians for. Wow, I didn't know that. What part of Canada are you from?
Okay, so Canada is like America's 51st state, right? No, I'm from Toronto. Toronto is
a good border.
Yeah, that's a border that people want to run to, right? And we're like, yeah, come on in. Yeah, come on in. Yeah, you're welcome. You can leave if you want. Now, yeah, I'm from Toronto, which is similar to Chicago or similar to New York. It's our business capital of Canada. And if you're from the East Coast in Vancouver, you're upset about that, screw you. Who knows? You guys don't really exist without us. We are the business capital. So that's where I'm from originally, from Toronto, or that Toronto region. So
is that where they have Just for Laughs?
No, Just for Laughs is all about Montreal. That's the mecca of Canadian comedy. And Just for Laughs, of course, is one of the biggest international festivals. Something that I would like to aspire to in the future. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. If you're listening to this, Samira, hit me up. So yeah, Just for Laughs is the Montreal, but since then it has expanded to other cities, and Toronto is now one of the satellite cities for Just for Laughs, including Chicago. Chicago also hosts Just for Laughs events as well too. I know, crazy.
Wow.
I know. So.
Well, I'm going to do an impression of Martin Short as Jiminy Glick.
Ah, okay.
Okay. So you are from Canada. So you have a queen. Did you ever have a thing with the queen?
No, Jiminy, I did not have a thing with a queen. But I do have a thing for queens. I'm just saying. Yeah, welcome to 2022. Good impression, Jiminy Glick. I like Jiminy Glick. Martin Short. And Martin Short is Canadian. That's also another Canadian icon as well, too.
Wow.
Martin Short is Canadian. Yes. Schitt's Creek, Canadian. Reproduce. Kids of the Hall, Canadian. So let's keep this theme running, right? So these are the
I can't believe they got Schitt's Creek past the sponsors without a paddle.
Well, it's a spelling, right? You know, it's like PHUK if you're in Vietnamese, which means something, but it means something else in English phonetics. So, you know, they're kind of smart that way.
Yeah. I'll tell you. You know, like you wonder if censors learned English by reading the closed captioning. Have you seen all the mistakes on closed captioning?
Right. Well, funny about closed captioning. Have you ever tried to dub your comedy when somebody actually transcribes your words? It's make sure you choose somebody who's from America or North America, Western English, because when you actually take your comedy, send it to somebody who's in a third world country that does it cheap, the stuff that comes back, I was like I don't recognize these words. Is it like, am I having a stroke? This person's recording and everything is recording as though that I'm like speaking garbled, like I'm speaking in tongues. All right. And that's what it comes out as. This is making no nonsense. So I'm not going to save a buck on transcribing my comedy online. I'm going to invest a few more dollars and pay for somebody who understands English well
Totally.
and can really interpret in the proper context of. No.
I got something to say before we get into your interview. This is just the prelude to the Constitution here. Remember, speaking of having a stroke, nowadays, I'm gonna have to throw this phone in the river. Remember when we were watching TV news and that news lady had a stroke, like one of them mini strokes, and she was just like that's so not funny, but what's funny is nothing gets past us. We see everything these days.
I know. Well, it's a good thing and a bad thing. It's bad for you as a person in terms of even the smallest blemish doesn't get unnoticed. Someone's gonna call you out like, that you had a fly walking around your face when you had that interview. And we don't want to say that, but then it shows up on Twitter. But you do want to find out as quickly as possible and then own up and go, listen, that's embarrassing. That spinach between my teeth that no one told me about at work was really embarrassing to have that interview with you. So
like I think that the number one, if they did like the 10 best of the last decade that everybody saw, that you wouldn't want your dead uncle to see, I think it would be when that fake interpreter got this close to Obama.
Oh gosh. Where was that, in South Africa? Was that
Yes.
Oh, yes, that's hilarious. Actually, that was he was just making stuff up, which we in the non-signing world knew nothing about, but I'm sure people in the signing world were like, what the hell is he saying? They're probably signing, what the hell? Whatever language they use, right? But it's funny because now I recall watching him sign, he's like really getting into it. So he's got his whole body into it and making up stuff. First of all, his career is over.
In tongues in Braille or something.
Speaking in tongues. Mute people are saying, is he having a stroke? It's something wrong with him. Yeah, it's Tourette's. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that episode. That's a very, very funny to recall. And that's going to be in perpetuity his moment of embarrassment for the rest of his life that we get to enjoy for comedy.
Yes, that's what he's going to have, that goes down in history with him. But I feel bad for like the millennials and the Gen X, Y, and Z and the A's, and they might not know about it. How do we tell them? Like, they might not have the developed higher sense of humor that we do if they didn't see that.
Well, I envy you because you're from a generation in which anything goes, and you're able to say, hey, if it's more funny than offensive, it's worth laughing. Here nowadays, if there's a little bit of more offense, shut it down. We're not allowed to laugh. But even though certain realities or certain things are the initial response is to laugh, but like, I can't laugh in front of these people. It'd be the wrong thing to do. That's just uncool. But inside you're laughing.
Never go to comedy with your HR manager.
I'll take that tip. Thank you. Noted.
Have you ever done comedy for an HR group? I did. It was horrible. Gosh. Nobody would laugh because she wasn't laughing.
That is funny in its own. Because now you just got to take a dig at the HR person and say, listen, she's holding everybody else hostage. She's holding their laughs hostage, right? If she doesn't laugh, nobody else laughs. So that'll be a tough room.
She's probably going to leave and have like a gas attack outside.
Oh my goodness, that sounds like a gig from hell. But anyhow,
it was. I could go on and on about it, but we're here to talk about you, Dee Cee. So let's talk about little Dee Cee. Let's get in a DeLorean and go back to the future in time. I don't even know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I want to feel like I know you when you were 5, 6, 7, and in junior high and high school. Paint us a few pictures what you were like.
I was quiet. I'm a quiet introvert because I have a family full of extroverts. I was like a middle child, but I was the youngest, you know. And I have a sister who's very funny. I have a father who's very, he thinks he's funny, but he's very dynamic, very charming. So altogether, I had these entertainers in my life who were kind of life of the party, and I always took the back seat around people who are extroverts. Even my friends, even in the church, I grew up in the youth group. I grew up in that circle, and I was always in the shadows. Like little Max, you know, little Brent was around, but I wasn't really seen or heard much. But I had all these thoughts and ideas, and eventually became into more confident to myself when I got into university and college. And I got my first taste of comedy when my sister brought me to a stand-up comedy club in Toronto, club called
What
Yuck
age
Yucks.
were you?
I was 16 or 17. It was a big thing because I was with an adult club, and my sister brought me out with with people who were drinking age. And so that opened up my eyes a lot more in terms of like, wow, this is so cool. You know, just the whole being able to gauge a crowd, and the laughter, and just that's just you know, the presence on stage, which commanded the room, made me laugh viscerally. And I still remember jokes from 30 years ago from the two people I remember seeing on stage. So that kind of left an impression on me and carried throughout high school, more college. And then in college, I finally found the gravitas, the Stones, to try it myself. Like I was pushing other people to do comedy because I was trying to live vicariously through my friends who were talented. Like people I say, you know, dude, Brian, dude, you're great. You'd be great at this. So like I think 2 or 3 people became comedians because I encouraged them to do stand-up comedy, but then I was doing it myself. And then eventually, when I graduated from college in Toronto, like actually in Canada, I eventually said, you know, let me just grow up here and try a set. And
What was your first time on stage like?
oh my goodness, it's horrible. Horrible. It was a train wreck.
Because
And I recorded it on tape, and I died. And then I only listened to myself on tape once. And then never again. Never again. The worst thing is to hear your own voice when you're not comfortable with your voice, because this is how I sound now. I appreciate it. But 20 years ago, I was not comfortable in my skin. Like I didn't have a stage persona. I didn't have a stage presence. I didn't know what I was supposed to be on stage because I wasn't really secure myself at that time. I guess the whole people like me, that type of attitude, right? So yeah, my first time sucked. I bombed. Like I don't even remember the jokes. But I tried it a second time. It got easier. Then third time. And then finally, I think the third or fourth time, I finally found a groove or rhythm in terms of, oh yeah, I got a laugh here. And then I finally figured out a formula without instruction. Didn't do any type of comedy school. And then I kind of stuck with it from there. And next thing you know, 2 years into comedy in Toronto, I got some opportunities and started make some headways into it. But I didn't go deep into comedy, only because I figured, you know what, I'm at this career junction. I got married. I also about to start a career as a chiropractor. What's going to pay the bills? Do I want to be hungry? Let me go the chiropractic route. So I detoured for a good couple of decades with family, career, and then came back to comedy when my career took me to Singapore, and I rediscovered comedy again. That passion,
so your
that drive.
chiropractor career took you to Singapore?
Yes, my chiropractic career took me to Singapore. I took a career detour. I kind of reached a career impasse. I just felt I wasn't fulfilled, satisfied. I felt I was struggling professionally, and I needed to do a reset mentally, emotionally, spiritually. It was a very challenging time, probably back in 2016. And in 2017, I bit the bullet and made the switch to Singapore to work and live there and send money back and support the family, kind of like working remotely, like many immigrant families do. So I didn't think it was a big deal. Required a lot of convincing of the family, of my wife at that time, but I did it, and it was a life-changing experience. And I rediscovered my love for comedy when I was there, because I was trying to find an emotional outlet, because you're away from family, away from friends, you're away from things that are familiar. I was working long hours, I was stressed, I needed an outlet, and I was working so long, I didn't have any type of, physical or, there are 4 F's that happens when you get stressed. You fight, you feast, you get fitness, or you fornicate. So, and I couldn't afford a divorce, and I got fit, then I also started feasting. I said, okay, let me replace this F with funny, because I did remember that when I did that stand-up, I found joy in it. And that's something that I was missing that time. I needed that type of fulfillment, that type of joy. So I found a stand-up, live stand-up stage one night in Singapore, and I attended as an audience member. I was like, oh my goodness, this is a great feeling. And I came back and they let me be on stage that second time. And next thing you know, I took all my experiences in Singapore up until that point for the first year there. And I shared some stuff on stage and they resonated with it. And then Bob's your uncle. You know, and then I just did it for like 4 or 5 nights a week, which is quite a bit of stage time, which is a lot more than what I had in Toronto starting 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I had around, in 3 months of stage time, I had more time on stage than I had in the first 2 years of doing comedy in Toronto. So I had no choice but to get better.
Yeah. What's your favorite thing that's ever happened that's been a learning experience in comedy?
Comedy wise, right? In
Mhm,
comedy?
yeah. Yeah.
Oh gosh. I did a 1 hour special. I produced my own album. And I did it. I know. It's called Chocolate Durian. If you're familiar with the fruit durian, it's known as a very smelly fruit, which is indigenous to that part of the world. The world's smelliest fruit is called durian. And I've been inside Singapore such a long period of time. I felt yeah, I felt Asian. I felt adopted. I felt like I'm durian, just a chocolate kind. So that's titled Chocolate Durian. It's on Spotify, I think still. It's definitely on Pandora. And so I'm proud of that accomplishment of recording it before just before the pandemic, recording it, publishing it, editing it, and it's out there. So it's all about my experience. It's a comedy based upon the regional experience of being Black in Singapore. And I'm proud to produce that 1 hour show.
Do you help other people to have a 1 hour special?
I haven't really helped anybody else. Actually, I got a tip from other people to say, here's how you do it. And I kind of lucked out because I recorded it on a budget, with a video camera, and someone had a good microphone on their camera, but it just, the angles was messed up, and just I didn't have enough cameras to make a proper video, but I got the audio. The audio was excellent. So I said, okay, let me see if I could do something with this. And so the audio right now is album quality. And I was very proud for my very first album. It was not, in the hindsight, and I listened to it, I go, wow, okay, I probably got 40 to 45 strong minutes in there, and then 15 minutes of filler, but it's a great experience to have. It's great to have beneath my belt when I returned to the United States, so that I didn't come empty-handed. It came with, okay, here's my credential. I've been on TV. I haven't been on any TV shows or Comedy Central specials, but I have created enough content to create an album. So I have the weight behind me. So that's what I came into return to Chicago with that experience, the comedy experience that really put me ahead of, not just starting from scratch, but I had some kind of weight behind me. I cut my teeth in Singapore, so I didn't feel like I started from day one, from the base level when I came to Chicago. I came with a running start. That's my proudest achievement. Yeah.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite joke that you love to tell that wouldn't be giving the farm away?
Yeah, here's what's funny. There's a joke that I've used ever since Singapore, and I still use on stage nowadays, still hits. And the fact is that being in Singapore, like, there's like no Black people there. Like, when I showed up, they didn't even use my name. They just called me Singapore Black Man number 5. Like we're an endangered species. And that's been consistent all the time. That's like my bellwether joke in terms of, all right, the audience gets me. And then it opens up the door to another branch of comedy based upon my experiences. So at my age right now, it's funny. I'm retelling a lot more jokes based upon experiences. Storytelling, I think I prefer based on experience, either with my kids or my families. There's just really stupid observations that end up here that now I'm able to paint that picture on stage and have fun with it. So it's really absurd.
Go ahead.
Sorry?
No, you go ahead. This is your show. I want to hear what you were thinking. I got ahead of you.
Absurd observational humor, meaning that, like, the what ifs. Like, most of my life has been what ifs. The last 5 years have been like, what if this happened? What if we took a chance at this? What if about the possibilities? So for me, that opened up the door to be in Singapore. Like, what if I happen to expand my horizons to consider being a chiropractor, not just in this country, So that opened up the door to Singapore. But also that whole idea of like what ifs is kind of like improv. Improv says yes and to keep the story going. So for me, that's my comment in terms of, okay, how do I keep the story going? For instead of saying yes and, I say what if. So now that's a very broad general question that gives me broad scope to say, okay, let's think of the most absurd things as possible and see what makes sense of it. So
I love that. What if Anne Frank came back to life and tweeted?
If she tweeted, "This technology is amazing. This would have gotten me out of the attic a lot earlier." I don't know. That's the first thing that comes to mind. It's
I can't
like
quit thinking about her. Like, what if she was alive during this and that? Like I just think of that a lot.
that's first of all, that's a great premise for a joke. Like, what if Anne Frank were alive today? First of all, she'd be rolling in her casket. Let me out. Right. Second of all, yeah, it's yeah, that's like, what if anybody who's famous back in the day would be alive today? They'd be like, what am I walking into? Like, really? You guys are angry about that? You guys are angry about someone using the N-word? Really? You guys are canceling their life? My family was just put to the gas chamber just for being a different race. And you guys are offended by the words? Really? So that's where I'm thinking in terms of, get a sense of humor, guys. Come on, relax.
I was doing
think
a joke about, I'm Linda Marcus Smith. I go by 3 names, not because I'm a diva, because that's beneath me. I go by 3 names because I'm just turning around history. You're welcome.
Right.
Because back in time, people with 3 names were really bad, like John Wilkes Booth. And the audience started laughing so hard. And I go, I wonder if he ever thought he was going to be in a punchline. That wasn't even the punchline. That's the premise, And they're laughing. And I go, John Wayne Gacy, laughter. And I go, Adolf Blanken Hitler. Hopeless over. What if they all came back to life? And, like the joke, what if John Wilkes Booth, John Wayne Gacy, and Adolf Hitler walked into a bar? So stupid.
That's well, first of all, the whole 3 name scenario, right? The whole like crazy people have 3 names, they use their middle names. I'm hoping that your mom didn't call you Marcus, because that puts you in that same category of crazy. Yeah, like, hi Linda, my middle name's Marcus Smith. I know it's a married name, but like, if that was the case, you'd be also not in that category of crazy, in which you're foretelling the future, in which this conversation is going to have a whole different type of meaning, because might be the last one that we have before you get arrested for something. Next thing you know, you're on CNN and 8 bodies are found in Linda Marcus Smith's trunk. Like, what? I just had an interview with her. She was a sweet lady. It's a dementia. It's the other part of her personalities that kill people, not hers. I don't know.
She was such a lovely neighbor.
She had a great laugh. We never saw it coming. Except for the name, but other than that, we never saw it coming.
Of course, they never saw the Nazis coming either. So
that's true.
Yeah, get it? Nazi. I did not see that coming. Okay, never mind.
Say that. Yeah.
Anyway, we have to laugh about it or we cry.
You're not laughing, you're crying. I agree 100%.
What is the thing that you said on stage that you wish you wouldn't have? And then I'll tell you mine.
Oh gosh. Do you know what? Anything that comes on stage, I'm fully cognizant of. I am. I'm fully aware about that. I own everything that I say on stage, 100%. Here's one thing I do regret. It wasn't on stage, but it's to a fellow
That's where
comedian.
we differ.
Yeah. Well, after a certain age, after a certain age, we stop caring what people think, right? Which I'm just entering that phase of my life. You've probably been there for the last 20, 30 years. I'm assuming, right? It's a lot of freedom. But the one thing I do regret saying was, I remember commenting on this female comedian back in Singapore, great girl, great lady. And she was just starting out. Very attractive here, very attractive figuratively. And I made the comment, I regret saying this. When it came out in slow motion. It's like, oh crap, I'm one of those guys, right? And I told her that I I suggested that the way that she dressed was more distracting from the jokes, from her humor. So she very attractive, very very revealing, but her humor, or like the jokes, was still developing, which is like, so it was honest, but it was not my place to say anything. That discouraged her,
Oh,
and she stopped doing the comedy. I stopped seeing her less and less, and I was like, and I know, as a fan, like I was supporting, like we were friends, we were colleagues, like we were at that time in that same comedy boot camp in Singapore, just like grinding away. But a few words of just encouragement will go a long way, and a single word of discouragement can also go a long way, unfortunately. And I think I share those words with regret. I do share those words with regret. So
oh, that's so
if she ever
sweet.
watches this, listen to this, you know who you are. She is Polish, and I do regret those words. I wish I could take them back. So
Oh, okay, I'll
yeah,
go with a regret. So
yeah, that's a
I
regret.
can pull one out of my hat. Just one. So,
Yeah, just one.
I am aware when I mess up, painfully so. So I go to the Wise Guys open mic in Vegas here, and there's a lot of times that they get up there and they say things that they shouldn't say. Like some people are white and try to say the N word, or they'll try to do a racist joke and be at cutting edge. And one guy notoriously goes up there and says anti-Semitic jokes. He's not the only guy. There's like 2 or 3 of them around here.
Right.
Well, I've been fighting this battle that I'm Jewish for 71 years. And
Right.
I'm not even Jewish. I'm only half Jewish, and the Jews don't even think I'm Jewish. So what the heck, But every once in a while, I got to get in there and say my opinion. So he comes off the stage. He just got through saying, this was his joke. I hate the Jews. You know why? Because I hate the Jews. Okay, so it's a bad joke, and it got a huge laugh. And I think that upset me more than the damn joke. And
Wow.
I'm
Okay.
sitting there in a room wondering if I'm safe at that point. Like, is this the anti-Semitic rally, or where's Kanye, or whatever? And,
Right.
and so he walks by me, and I said, "So you hate the Jews, huh?" I'm like, I'm ready to fight all of my osteoporosis and degenerative arthritis, my PTSD.
So,
I bring a
yep.
lot.
Cracking bones. You've cracked your own bones beforehand. So how did you step up on when it was your turn to perform? Because you followed that person, right?
Um, that particular night, I went up way before him, and
Oh, okay.
I said, "Can I talk to you about this?" At the next night, I saw him at another place, and I said, "Can I talk to you about this? Do you hate the Jews?" And he said, "No, it's just the joke that gets a great big laugh, so I'm going to say it." And I go, "Okay, so in your mind, in your reality,
Right.
because it gets a huge laugh, you're on equal par with Howard Stern. You are now the litmus. That's the litmus test. You don't have like any other filter inside of there." I reamed him. I reamed him so badly that like later I apologized, brought him on for an interview, and now we're good buddies. But like I let him have it. I tried every logical way to get in there. And
Did
now
he
he just makes fun of Italians. He hates Italians now.
did he feel like crap?
What?
Did he feel like crap? Like did you
I
chastise him enough to be like, wow, this is all right. I cross. I mean, there are lines that we sometimes cross, sometimes as comedians. We always try to push that line. Um, but it's if I'm in a room full of people, and you make reference to the N word because I'm the only black person there, you make a black joke, and everybody else laughs around you because that's no other black people around. My question is, okay, great, fine. Would you do the exact same joke in an audience full of black people?
exactly.
If you can willingly, knowingly do that with a heart and a heart of hearts, expecting to have the same response, great, you made it funny. But if you know that you're saying that because many people in the audience aren't of that race that you're punching down on, then really, is it funny, or are you just stacking it because you know full well that you're not going to be held accountable for the joke? So
Exactly.
it's so I'm just saying that if you're going to use anything, any type of stereotype of humor, either racial or cultural or religious stereotype, if you're not able to do that in front of that audience, I think you're racial or cultural. If you're not able to do that in front of a room full of people of that particular type of people, then don't do the joke, right? They're like, oh, okay, I'm going to edit myself only because there's Asians in the audience or only because there's a Black person in the audience. I'm going to step back and not say that. No, then don't say it at all.
That's right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like, I don't understand why people, like, my jokes aren't about other people's races and cultures. Like, there's enough material about a half Jew out there that I can pull from about
Right.
myself.
Well, I mean, you can punch down on yourself, right? And unfortunately nowadays it sucks to be a white Anglo-Saxon male in America doing comedy, because you can't punch down. There's nobody can punch down on, right? I mean, there's nobody can punch up. You're at the top of the chain, right? You had a good ride, guys. It's our turn. But yeah, it's a different line to cross. And then same, and for me, I can always punch up, but there's also sometimes some jokes I figure that if I do this joke, I'm punching down, even as a minority. If I'm punching down another minority who's underrepresented in that crowd, yeah, I'm gonna look like a douche. So
Thank you.
I choose my comedy carefully based on like, hey, if this got out, would I be willing to stand on it? And so far, so good.
What's
So
your
far, so good.
proudest moment of something that you're so proud because it's helpful to humanity or to conscientiousness, or like, do you have something that you're really proud of?
Well, that's a loaded question. I think the proudest thing I've seen is how my comedy has influenced my daughter and my family. Because my daughter's not athletic. There's no commonality with me and my girls. Like, they're all about dance, all about the girl thing. They're all about. I got no boys in my family, right? But my daughter's 15, and later on, when she found out that I did comedy, all of a sudden she was drawn into that. So she ended up trying comedy herself. And then there's one point in time that we performed on the same stage at a high school show that was done, in which I was the guest professional, but she also performed on the same stage, and she killed. Like, she did a really good job for the first time. And I was able to also follow up and tag on to her. So that's one of my proudest moments, that I was able to pass on this creative trait, this creative talent, or this creative this creative gene, give strength to my daughter, and just add some self-esteem and boost her self-esteem, because kids need all the tools to become bully proof. I can't protect her against bullies, but I can equip her to become bully proof by making her self-esteem rock solid. And there's nothing that's going to make a person's self-esteem more rock solid than given the tools with knowing how to handle a crowd and be a stand-up comedian. Does that make sense? So
Totally.
I'm very proud of having that spillover effect on my daughter.
Absolutely.
Make
So
her
did you coach her? Did you coach her and help her write jokes and put together her set?
No, actually, no. She wrote her own set, but some of the stuff that she did test on me before, just in conversation, I let her know that, yeah, I'd bust out laughing. I go, yo, sweetie, that is gold. And there's some things that she said that I wish I had written myself. It's like, oh, I wish I could say that. What is it? Is it theft if you steal from your daughter? If I stole a joke from my daughter, is it kept in the family? She can't really charge me, right? Like, but no, she's got this amazing joke that she tells, and she'll probably tell on stage in the near future. But one of her jokes is because she's this is based on an exchange that we had. I was driving her to school one day, and she's telling me about all these kidnappings and people being abducted from students being abducted, and I thought I was concerned, and she said, baby girl, are you sharing this because you're concerned about for your own safety? And she's like, no, Dad, I weigh over 200 pounds. Like, whoever tries to abduct me, tries to pick me up and steal me, I'm gonna say, who's your trainer? Right? I was floored. Like, I had to pull over the car and laugh, because it was so spontaneous, so out of the blue, and it was so honest. And it showed that she had a certain type of confidence and ownership of what her image was. So I want to feed that and fuel that in her. And now that she's extended the joke and it's hers, but that premise was just all hers. It's like, yo, honey, you got me in stitches. And it's one of my favorite bits from her.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
fabulous. I've heard a lot of people talk about their body, on stage, and that's the funniest one I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's all her. She's like, I want her to be healthy. I definitely want to help her with her body image and be a healthier version of herself. But also, don't want to disrupt her confidence. Like she's got the same confidence as an overweight Black woman in Atlanta. All right, that's how confident she is. So I don't want to squash that. So it's precarious balancing act as a parent. Say, want her healthy, but I want to support this part of her identity as well too. So you know exactly what I'm talking about, right?
I'm trying to take the fact that my daughter hasn't spoke to me in 8 years and take it on stage and make parents and children who are not talking to each other relate to it, because there's a lot of them out there.
You know what? I've been following you on that one. I'm curious to see how that evolves because like we're part of that, we're bystanders in that drama, and it is a bit of drama in your own life, but you invited us to be part of it because you share that with the world. So we're looking for resolution. So
Yeah.
we're cheering for you in this connection, this lost connection that you're trying to rebuild with your daughter. And I'm excited and eager to see how this evolves and see where it goes to. And hopefully
Thank
there's
you.
a element of pride and reconciliation that's going to come about with you and your daughter
Me
that
too.
I'm going to be cheering for you with.
I keep writing down every day anything that comes to my mind that I can pull to throw in there, and then I'll massage it, and at some point I'll have the guts to go on. I know I won't cry anymore about it, and I know what my ending joke will be, but I'm not sure that I want it to get out there.
Well, here's one thing. Here's a sign of a powerful joke or a powerful comedian. If you're able to make them laugh in a set and also make them cry. If you're able to do both in a show, like in your own set, I wouldn't do it in like a 5-minute set, but usually if you have like a 30-minute or an hour, if you're able to pull both emotions into that set, that's next level. I think that's next level.
That's so
So
cool. That's what I'll go for.
yeah, it's because people want to connect emotionally. People want to connect to your story and one aspect to another. So
So
I'm
don't be
curious to
afraid.
see.
Don't be afraid of the silence, because that could be that they're really soaking it in.
Exactly. Embrace the silence. I mean, you have their attention. If you're a headliner, right, you have their attention. All right. They are invested. They want to see you succeed. They want to see that journey and they're with you to the end. So you can take that time if you've got that 30, 45-minute set to take them on the journey where you want to. And sometimes the journey is very, very visceral. And there's many comics who do that. Mark Maron does that sometimes. And I know
Really?
I have some friends from Singapore who've done that in their set. That was his name is Sam C. He's one of the first gay comedians in Singapore, or the only outright gay comedian in Singapore, who takes us on one of his journeys in his special, which is very, very personal. And then he pulls us out and there's resolution at the end. So I've seen it done, and it's been very impressive when a person shares their heart on stage and it goes into the comedy.
Is there a way I can watch that video to see an example?
You gotta look him up. Sam C. Mr. Sam C. That's his name. SAMSEE. He's on Facebook. He's also on YouTube. And I'll reach out and see exactly if he's got that special. He's taped it somehow, so I'm sure it's out there somewhere in the digital world.
Okay.
So.
Well, tell me some of the highs of your comedy life. I know that you put that in the intro, but tell us a little bit about 20 years of comedy. You had to bump up against somebody that had fake boobs, or I mean, like, there's got to be funny stuff that's happened to you.
Oh, absolutely. Most of the funny stuff happened when I was in Singapore. For the first year of living and working in Singapore, as once again, there's not that many people of color. I mean, everybody's a person of color in Singapore. Everybody's Asian, either Chinese or Indian, right? That's a primarily mix of Singapore.
Wow.
Lots of Chinese, lots of Indian, and then there's a mix of race called Malay that's indigenous to that area. But of course, I stuck out like a sore thumb, like a bruised sore thumb, right? I stuck out. And so a lot of it, yeah, like I stuck out like a hematoma, like a black piece of corn, like a dead piece of corn on a corn. Like that's how I stuck out. But yeah, I had all these experiences happening to me in that first year, all these encounters, like these random fish out of water encounters. and I make observations of them. And I was like, man, this is so weird, but this would be great to tell on stage. So this would be a great joke just to tell this experience. I started documenting these experiences and writing them down and capturing them. Then eventually, a year into being in Singapore, a year and a half, a year and a third, and 3 months after being in Singapore, I finally grew a pair and put some of those experiences out on stage. And one of those experiences is, I'll tell you this one. One of those experiences, I was often mistaken for being a Nigerian pastor. Like in Singapore, like out of all the African countries, out of all the identities, I was asked many times riding on the bus, riding in transit, are you a Nigerian pastor? I'm like, I don't know what kind of vibes I give off, but I pass as a Nigerian pastor. If I had I probably would have $21 in the first 4 months for the number of times I was asked if I was a Nigerian pastor, if I was a pastor, if I was from Nigeria, or both. $21. I would have made money for every dollar. I kid you not, Linda. I was like, this is more than just a coincidence. All right. God is saying something here, or either I'm going to be going to comedy, one or the other. So I did the comedy route. So it made it its way into my act, along with other experiences, which is, just strangers walking up to you and like looking at you and tapping your head and running off. And I never used to swear at all until I went to Singapore, because sometimes I used to, mind my P's and Q's and have this filter, but there's so many random things that happen in Singapore that eventually I just find myself going, the fuck was that? Like that would explain it, right? Not WHT, WHATFUCK, but DA''FUQ, right? That's how it summarized these experiences. Like, back home in the United States, I'd be like, oh, that's peculiar. That's an odd thing to happen. That's weird. Meanwhile, I was like, the fuck? That's an honest visual reaction. So that's where now my mindset of, let me just capture all these DA''FUQ moments and see what comes out from it. So that's where the comedy came into play.
Wow.
Lots and lots of them. So that's where my album comes into play. Like a lot of those experiences from the encounters with patients and encounters with just not understanding Mandarin properly, right? Which is a very difficult language to learn, and having that lost in translation moments, that's also makes funny comedy as well too.
Yeah. How do I see your 1 hour special? I want to watch it. You said it's on Spotify.
Well, okay, you can listen to it. It's on Spotify. It's also on Pandora. It's called Chocolate Durian.
How do you spell durian? Durian?
Durian. Just follow the smell. All right, durian. Yeah, durian. Chocolate durian. And I have the video, but I'm not really ready to release the video. But the tape it's worth listening to.
Wow, I want to see that. So, like a person that looks like you, who happens to be Black, that's living in, what was the name of the country?
Singapore.
I was so close to paying attention. That would be like a half Jew doing what?
It's like you relocating to Kenya, right? And you see nothing but a sea of Black people all the time, right? And then one day you see someone who's faintly white, you're like, are they white? They're Puerto Rican, close enough. Like, hey, what's up, right? And that's the same fish out of water experience I had with Singapore, which you look for people who look familiar to you, right?
Absolutely. Well, what would you like to say now that you've got this wonderful platform for the world to hear you? Like,
hey,
people.
I am ready to take my comedy to the next level. I'm ready to bring international experiences to the American stage, to the American screens, to American audiences. So if there's anybody out there who's watching that's actually or looking for a different type of talent, different type of story, that's unique. Hey, my name is Dee Cee. And actually, here's another thing. Nobody knows this yet, but you're gonna be the first person. I am going to do a tour in Southeast Asia in January. I'm planning a comedy tour in Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia. A headline tour. So in the new year, in January 16th. So if this goes out to those countries, and if there are military bases, if there's any type of military communities out there, I'd love to be able to connect up with those communities in those countries in Singapore or Thailand, and perform for the armed forces in those bases there. So if you know somebody, hook a brother up, Linda. Come on now, hook a brother up, hook a brother up. So that's my wish, is to be connected to your military community.
Do you know who Dennis Gaxiola is?
No.
Hit him up.
Okay, Facebook or off?
Yeah. I don't
Okay.
know where, but I've heard he's a big time booker that's really still going right now. And then
Dennis.
Dante Ruscialelli does that. And Don Barnhart.
So these are names that are unfamiliar to me that I'm definitely going to dig more into after this interview.
You got it.
I appreciate that.
Well, so you live in Chicago.
Chicago's home now.
I'm morphing into Jiminy Glick. So you live in Chicago.
I'll play the straight character.
Do you like their pizza? What's the best thing about being in Chicago? You're probably part of the groundlings.
Oh no. Chicago has Second City. Chicago is improv mecca. Like this is the city for anything improv in the United States of the world, I believe, right? So I'm literally just down the street from that. But I also underestimated how deep the Chicago talent pool was. And I only realized that over the last couple of months, in terms of like how people come from different parts of the country. They don't go to LA and New York for comedy. They also come to Chicago. So when I learned about that, I realized that, you know what, maybe I should spend more time driving to these spots across the city. And it's, it's like 45 minutes to an hour commute each time to hit a stage outside of where I live, but it's worth it. And let me take advantage of this in my backyard to develop myself as a comedian here. And it's very deep comedy waters. And I thought I'd just be like treading water, but I'm swimming with the sharks right now. I feel that I'm holding my own with the people who've been here for years and decades, and it's actually surprisingly very not inviting, but very collaborative, very open. So there is some competitiveness, but it doesn't overshadow the embracement that I've had, or feeling welcome in the comedy community in Chicago. So that's what's really surprising about Chicago, how welcoming they have been so far for me as an outsider, not even being familiar with Chicago, but had a lot more opportunities on stage, and just this has been very welcoming, very encouraging. So I'm keeping up with it just for that reason.
Have you done acting through Second City, or tried to get fed into Saturday Night Live, or what?
No, you know why? Because I got a job, full-time job, and I also have a family to take care of. So I have other responsibilities outside of the time. So if there was an extra hours of the day, I would, but I would love to do those things, but I got to be able to manage my time differently. And it's on the to-do list, on the accomplish list of getting into acting, getting those muscles developed. But for the time being right now, I have to leverage the little time that I have to leverage it towards my girls, my wife, my 9-to-5 that I have right now. It's not chiropractic. Actually, I semi-retired from chiropractic for the purpose of, yeah. So when I returned back from Singapore, I stepped away from practicing as a chiropractor for a couple of reasons. A, so I can have the emotional time and space and energy to do comedy at the end of the workday. So now I'm working with Amazon and, in a different role, but I have the emotional, physical capacity to be able to do other things as well, with my daughters and through comedy, that would not have been if I was a full-time chiropractor, because no one wants to be treated by a doctor that's been up at till 2:00 in the morning at a bar, having to show up for 7 o'clock, taking care of people with my hands. So it would not be fair to my patients. And it's not, and it's also physically taxing on the body. So at this juncture, at my physical part of my life right now, let me see if I can morph into a career path that does not depend on my joints being healthy or well. All right. There's no body time clock in comedy. Linda, you're 71, right? You're getting your prime right now. You're still going strong. So for me, I'm thinking, man, Linda's doing it at 71 and she's enjoying it. Why can't I follow that same path? So I'm doing a huge career pivot with the support of my family.
Yes.
Huge, come to Jesus talk with that. But for the time being right now, there's a sacrifice that I made financially until I can flip the switch on the comedy and get to the stage where I can replace that income and support them and from a different way. So it's a long journey, but
I
it's a
wish you
fun
all
journey.
the best. You've been nothing but a mensch everywhere I've seen you and been around you. And sometimes I take the train across the country and do comedy on the train. And when I do, there's a 7-hour layover in Chicago. So maybe someday you'll come to the train station and we can make people laugh.
Hit me up when you do that, please. You know where I'm at. Look me up. I'll take the day off from work. I'll make excuse from the kids. Say, listen, Dad's got to go for a smoke, and come back 8 hours later, just to spend time with you.
Super duper, man. Anything else you want to cover, like where you're going to be performing? Because people might be going to Chicago or to what's that country you were talking about?
Singapore.
Yeah.
If you're in Southeast Asia in January, look me up. I'll be in Singapore. But if you're in Chicagoland, all right, if you're in this part of the United States, follow me on Instagram and Facebook. My Instagram handle is DEE underscore DC DEECEE underscore comedy. That's my Instagram. And then on YouTube, just look up DC comedy and one word DEECEE comedy. Oh, and the last thing I forgot to mention, the reason why I use the name DC and I don't use Brent Maxwell on stage, because it started in Singapore. And I wanted to separate my professional identity because my job that had me on contract did not know I did comedy. So I had to have like a be incognito, incognito, right?
I'm not
In
saying it.
Singapore, I chose a moniker DC because it was easy for me to remember. And it also tied my professional career, a glimpse, like a hint of my professional career to my stage persona, because DC stands for Doctor of Chiropractic. So that's a word on play. I know, mind blown, right? DC. So it's not Washington, DC. People think you're from DC. That's the reason you call it. That's the reason why you call it DC. No, it's my professional designation. But it took me a long time doing comedy before I felt comfortable enough to introduce my comedy on stage. Because I didn't want to be hacky. I don't want to be known as the chiropractic comedian. Like I don't want to be gimmicky, because that gimmick gets tired. But I felt confident enough over time that I was established as a comedian first and knew me as a comedian first. And then I introduced to myself as, hey, I'm a comedian that happened to be a chiropractor as well. As opposed to I'm a chiropractor that has to be a comedian. No, I flipped it around. So now I introduced my career into my comedy, and now it fits perfectly at the right time.
Have you ever said on stage that you get accused of being manipulative as a chiropractor?
Linda, oh, we're in such a roll. Oh, the puns, Linda. Oh, I like, how long are we going to go before I
I
hit my first
warned you.
pun?
You had every piece of information to know this was going to happen. I don't know why.
Not just dad jokes, mom jokes now. Linda, oh, you're killing me. All right. Oh, you're such a mensch. I don't know what that means, but I figured this is the perfect time to use that word.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on. So you're DC comedy, DEECEE underscore comedy on Instagram.
Yes. And if you have any questions, anybody out there who wants to connect with, you just hit me up either through Instagram or YouTube or even Facebook. I am pretty good at reaching back to people, connecting up with people. So I love to be able to do this again in the future. I want to get this in before you blow up, before I see you on America's Got Talent, before you have your own HBO special, because then you're going to have handlers in between you and me, and then I have to call your people, and then we're not going to have this rapport. I'd have to talk to you through people.
Once
so
I
want to get you.
It's all over.
Yeah, I want to get you on the upswing right now. So get in the bottom rung.
I have one other thing to plug for you. He has a 1-hour special. It's called Chocolate Durian, DURIAN.
Check it out.
I'm going to go see it too. So let's all do that for him.
Thank you, Linda. I had fun with this. This is a blast. You made it very painless, very not uncomfortable.
Well, it's better than a colonoscopy.
There you go. I don't feel healthier. I do feel more pleasant. So
thank you so much, Dee Cee Maxwell. Bye.
Take
Love
care.
you,
God bless. Love you too, Linda.
God bless you.